Yun Yin opened her mouth. Are you trying to say I don't have any meat on me? She subconsciously looked down at herself. She thought her figure was pretty good. Jiang Yin Yin pursed his lips slightly. You're skinny in just the right places. Which made Yun Yin feel uncomfortable again. Her phone rang. It was Wonjo calling. When answering the phone, Yun Yin vaguely sensed the man's hostility on the other side. She looked up and saw that his expression was indeed not very gentle. Are you home? I don't have any social engagements tonight. I'll pick you up for dinner later. Didn't you want to see a movie? I'll go with you. Yun Yin was now particularly sensitive to words like hungry, dinner, and full, and would always unconsciously connect them to lust. She cleared her throat and said to the phone, Forget it today. I don't have much of an appetite, and I'm too lazy to move. Let's do it another day. Yuanzhou didn't seem to want to hang up. Are you not feeling well? Not really, it's just... She subconsciously glanced at Jiang Yin Yin, not wanting him to be staring at her too, with a look that wasn't very friendly. I'm just really tired and want to get some rest. That was the truth. She just wanted to go back to her own bed and get a good night's sleep. Why were these kinds of things between men and women so tiring? She had heard some friends talk about love and relationships before, but they didn't tell her it was so exhausting. Yuanzhou sighed softly. Then I'll order some food and have it delivered to you. You can't skip dinner. No need. It's settled then. I'll be back later. Yuanzhou said gently. After ending the call, Yun Yin felt a burst of anxiety in her heart. She looked at the time, thinking that it wasn't too far from the hotel to her house, but what about the marks on her neck? Or a turtleneck? Wouldn't that be strange? Forget it. She'll just do that. Yuanzhou can't just grab her by the collar. Thinking this, she felt resentment towards Jiang Yin Yin. Why did he like leaving marks on her so much? He's going to your house late at night. Jiang Yin Yin spoke, his voice cold. Yun Yin felt the surrounding atmosphere freeze, and she sighed. It's Azhou, not some other man. Yuanzhou is already a grown man. Are you still treating him like a child? Jiang Yin Yin frowned. Yun Yin looked up at him. Yuanzhou is my younger brother. Jiang Yin Yin's eyes were indifferent, and he remained silent. Yun Yin couldn't eat anymore, and put down her chopsticks. I told you, finish it. Jiang Yin Yin's tone was commanding. Fine. She didn't have the strength to argue with him. Didn't young Master Yin have something to do tonight? I'm afraid I'll delay your affairs. Seeing that she had returned to her usual tone, his brows furrowed slightly. I'm not in a hurry. The sentence, I'm not in a hurry, left her defenseless, with no excuse to leave immediately, so she could only finish the meal. It was really stuffed to death. Full? Jiang Yin Yin asked casually. Yun Yin's fingers trembled, and the spoon hit the bowl, making a loud sound. She realized that she had overreacted and felt embarrassed. Jiang Yin Yin clearly saw her embarrassment, but deliberately asked, What's wrong? Nothing, I'm full. Yun Yin said quickly. You seem pretty nervous? No, why would I be nervous? Yun Yin said, but her heart was pounding. Jiang Yin Yin didn't speak, but his gaze remained fixed on her. Yun Yin got up and pointed to the dining table. Someone will clean this up, right? Jiang Yin Yin nodded. A housekeeper was responsible. Then, I'm going to change my clothes, Yun Yin said as she got up, ignoring the soreness of her body, and hurried to the dressing room. It was a small dress, packaged in a pure white velvet gift box. Yun Yin was dazed for a moment when she saw the logo on the box. It was her favorite brand. Had he already regarded her as a prostitute and used her favorite aristocratic brand to humiliate her, wanting to tell her that even if you were a high and mighty young lady, you still obediently receive me beneath you? Hadn't he said that before? The door of the dressing room was pushed open by Jiang Yin Yin from the outside. Yun Yin reacted with a jolt, suddenly turning her head to stare at him. Hadn't the door been locked? Jiang Yin Yin was holding a very small box in his hand, not knowing what was inside. Seeing that she hadn't changed her clothes, he asked, You don't like it? Yun Yin clenched her fingers. No, the dress is too expensive. Jiang Yin Yin walked forward and stopped in front of her. Do you think you're not worthy? Yun Yin looked up at him. Do you think I'm worthy in young Master Yan's eyes? Jiang Yin Yin sized her up, and a hint of displeasure seemed to flash in his eyes. But he quickly returned to normal, leaned in close to her ear, and chuckled. Anyone Jiang Yin Yin takes a fancy to, no matter how lowly, as long as they stay by my side, they're worthy. Yun Yin's breath caught at her throat, and her heart felt like it had been cut by a sharp blade, not bleeding, but with a faint pain. Sit down. Jiang Yin Yin's tone was indifferent. His expression remained unchanged, and he didn't seem to care about the loneliness in Yun Yin's eyes. Yun Yin was stunned. Why? Jiang Yin Yin was too lazy to explain, and pulled her down to sit down, then raised his hand to lift the hem of her bathrobe. Yun Yin was so shocked that she grabbed his hand. Young Master Yin, don't... Hadn't he promised to let her leave? Let go. Jiang Yin Yin frowned slightly, his face cold. He was moody, and Yun Yin didn't want to offend him, but his intentions... Young Master Yin, I really can't. Yun Yin looked pleading, clinging to his wrist and refusing to let go. She was really afraid of his ferocity in bed. Jiang Yinyan looked up at her, suddenly smiled, and asked, "What can't you do?" Yinyan's face turned red. Jiang Yinyan laughed again. "I don't think you can't. You have plenty of strength, don't you?" His gaze fell on her slender fingers. "Just like when you grabbed me this morning, you had plenty of strength." As long as he turned his face slightly, the scratch mark on his neck would be clearly visible. It was the moment he entered her last night. She screamed and grabbed him. It didn't hurt, but it was very itchy, like the sound of her voice when she was being tortured in bed. Still like a cat, delicate and charming, drilling into his heart, making him unable to control himself, wanting to ravage and trample her to death. When he finished showering and looked in the mirror, he saw the scratch marks on his neck and also on his back. Just looking at the scratch marks on his body could make him think of her embracing his neck and crying out in uncontrollable pleasure. He stared at the mirror and seemed to be able to see the enchanting and tender scene in the mirror and bit his lip fiercely. The witch's hand didn't loosen, refusing to let Jiang Yinyan's hand get closer by an inch, but her face was getting redder. Jiang Yinyan seemed to be interested, teasingly staring at her flushed face, like peach blossoms on a branch, with a faint fragrance as she approached. They were in the same room, using the same bath soap, but she had a unique fragrance on her body, not vulgar, a refreshing and heart-itchy body scent. "How about this? If you tell me what you can't do, I'll consider letting you go." Yinyan was breathing rapidly. I can't do anything." Her whole body ached. She wasn't lying. Jiang Yinyan moved closer to her, his breath slightly hot. "Anything? Then I'll only touch your lower part." "Don't." Yinyan shuddered and dodged to the side. Seeing that he was still staring at her, she could only bite the bullet and say dryly, I'm pretty sore down there." "Where?" Jiang Yinyan deliberately pretended not to understand and placed another big hand on her back, gradually moving down. "Here?" Or he picked open the front of her bathrobe with his slender fingers and reached in here, deliberately teasing her. Yunyan's heart felt like it had been pulled out, and her body was trembling slightly. Her throat was dry, and she said with difficulty, "It's below. It's pretty sore." Jiang Yinyan laughed. He let go of the hand, teasing her. "Don't worry, I'll apply medicine for you," Jiang Yinyan said. Yunyan was stunned. He took out the small box he had been holding in his hand from his pocket. Yunyan noticed that it was a small medicine box, and subconsciously let go of his hand. "Apply. Where?" she asked unnaturally. Jiang Yinyan raised his eyes, and the corners of his eyes lifted slightly, adding a bit of casualness. Yunyan was stunned for a moment, but quickly reacted and saw his gaze fall downwards. She suddenly understood, and the heart that was already hanging in her throat almost jumped out. "Do it yourself?" Jiang Yinyan raised an eyebrow and looked at her. "Are you sure it's convenient for you to do it yourself?" Yunyan nodded repeatedly. Jiang Yinyan didn't make things difficult for her, handing her the medicine box. She took it, but saw that he was still sitting on the sofa and showed no sign of leaving. She was stunned. "Aren't you going out?" "Why go out?" Jiang Yinyan asked casually. Yinyan wanted to say, "If you don't go out, how can I apply the medicine?" But knowing that saying it would be pointless, Jiang Yinyan was clearly doing it on purpose. Jiang Yinyan's tone remained as light as a breeze. "What part of you haven't I seen?" Hearing him say that, Yunyan knew that getting him to leave was impossible. That meant applying the medicine in front of him. Just thinking about that scene, if he applied the medicine, it would be even more embarrassing for her. In short, she was caught between a rock and a hard place. After thinking for a moment, Yinyan raised her eyes to meet his gaze, smiling. "I'm actually fine now. It doesn't hurt that much. The ointment is optional, so..." She gently placed the ointment on the armrest of the sofa. Why dwell on the question of who applies the medicine? She'd rather not apply it at all and just endure it. Anyway, she would be fine after a few days of rest. Jiang Yinyan was sitting on the sofa, practically next to her. When his tall figure leaned over, he was almost pressing against her. "What if I just want to apply it?" Yunyan shuddered, her heart pounding wildly. The man leaned closer bit by bit, and Yunyan panicked. "Young Master Yan, aren't you?" Jiang Yinyan reached out and grabbed the ointment, taking in her panicked expression, and the corners of his mouth curved into a sexy smile. Yunyan realized that she had been teased, and was instantly both ashamed and angry. She intended to get up, but the man's arm wrapped around her slender waist, pulling her back down. He opened the ointment, looking like he was going to take action himself. Seeing that she was about to move again, Jiang Yinyan said in a low voice, "Sit still." Yunyan saw a sternness in his eyes and eyebrows. Although she extremely didn't want him to apply the medicine for her, she didn't want to upset this man because of it. She could only sit motionless on the sofa. Seeing this, Jiang Yinyan was satisfied, and the tension between his brows eased. He reached out and untied her bathrobe. The moment her underwear was pulled down, Yun Yin's face turned red. Jiang Yinyin separated her legs. She wasn't used to it, and her body tensed up. He reached out and gently patted her twice. Relax. Then he looked up at her, his tone slightly teasing. So tight. How am I supposed to apply it? Yun Yin heard the ambiguity in his words, and her heart felt like it had been torn open by a large hand. You. She wanted to retort, but before she could, she met his gaze and swallowed the remaining words. Jiang Yinyin's gaze rested on her, wandering as if stained with black mist, his eyes filled with desire, yet also with deep emotion. It was as if some consistently restrained emotion was gradually collapsing, but if you looked closely, even the tips of his ears were slightly red. If her breathing was rapid, Jiang Yinyin's breathing wasn't steady either, his sturdy chest rising and falling. His hand on her leg was warm. Usually, he was a cold and abstinent man. Such warm hands were the same as being moved by lust. The reason Yun Yin stopped talking was precisely because she had glimpsed the emotions deep in his eyes. Like obsession. Obsessed with her, or just her body. Thinking of this, Yun Yin found herself laughing. He was obsessed with her body. That was undeniable, and he had already shown her this with actions this morning. Separate them. Surprisingly, Jiang Yinyin didn't force her, but instead gently stroked the skin between her legs with his broad palm, as if to ease her tension. These two words, spoken from his mouth, were like a soft love confession, carrying a touch of tenderness. Yun Yin listened to him and gently opened her legs. It wasn't that she was bewitched by his voice and gentle gestures. It was simply because she knew that Jiang Yinyin's patience was fleeting. If she didn't cooperate, it might provoke his dissatisfaction, and she would be the one to suffer in the end. Jiang Yinyin looked up at her and saw her pretty face flushed a light pink, her long eyelashes trembling slightly, the shadows they cast trying to hide her unease and shyness. Her long hair was loose around her chest, and her skin was as white and delicate as a lotus flower, pure and innocent. But the ripples in the corners of her eyes were a charm that others didn't have. Pure and lustful, she possessed both completely. Aren't you going to apply the medicine? Yun Yin was uncomfortable being stared at by him and urged softly. But deep down, she felt a faint unease. Jiang Yinyin chuckled, seeming to be in a good mood. At least he wasn't displeased by her prompting. He got up, but knelt on one knee in front of her, using his large hands to hold her slender white ankles, fixing them to either side of the sofa. The thin calluses between the tiger's mouth of the man's large hands gently stimulated the soft skin of her ankles, causing her to shudder slightly. He laughed, as if saying casually, I don't even dare to use force on your little ankles. It was only then that Yun Yin looked at him, and her mind buzzed. Not because of his words, but because of his current posture. Jiang Yinyin was perhaps kneeling on one knee for convenience in applying the medicine, but it reminded her once again of the past, of Yin from before. Yin was very different. This was something that the entire Yu family agreed on. Don't look down on him just because he was a bodyguard, but Yun Yin always felt that there was a strength in his bones that others didn't have, as well as the temperament on his body. He was clearly a person bought back by her father, yet his every move had an elegance and a restraint and forbearance that didn't match his age. Yin was very proud. Apart from talking to her, it was difficult for others to have a conversation with him. Some young socialites who had taken a liking to him had repeatedly invited him out, but he didn't even bother to acknowledge them. The young socialites were so angry that they complained to Yun Yin. Is your Yin looking down on everyone? Is he even more arrogant than Yuan Zhou? He's just a bodyguard. Does he really think he's a noble young master? But despite the scolding, she couldn't let go of Yin in her heart, and always begged, Good sister, can you give me your bodyguard? When Yun Yin told Yin this, she happened to step in a puddle, and her beautiful shoes were dirted. Yun Yin was fussy at that time, and she was very picky about the clothes she wore. She would break down if her shoes were even a little dirty. Yin knew she had this problem, so he bought new shoes and socks for her to change into. Fearing that she would complain again if her feet touched the ground, he knelt on one knee, letting her feet rest on his thighs, making it easier to change into the new shoes and socks. When everything was changed and she looked beautiful and clean, she was very happy and stretched out her arms towards Yin with a delicate smile. Carry me. With Yin by her side, she was always too lazy to walk. That day, Yin carried her towards the parking lot. The weather was neither cold nor hot. It was very comfortable. She leaned on Yin's back and felt very comfortable. She tilted her head and said, Yin, why do I feel like you've grown taller again? I feel like the ground is so high now. Yin responded softly, It's because Miss is a picky eater and doesn't like to eat. Are you saying I'm short? No. You're just complaining about me. Yin wouldn't complain about Mississippi. He gave his answer and added very softly, Never will. Yun Yin was young at that time. How could she understand the hidden meaning in his words? She didn't take those words to heart, and the topic passed with laughter. She asked him again, Ayin, do you have a younger sister? Ayin was silent for a moment. No, I don't have an older brother either. Yunyin sighed. She only had a younger brother who annoyed her every day. Sometimes I just think you're very, very much like an older brother, although I can't describe what that feeling is like. Ayin, can you be my older brother? And didn't remain silent this time, and replied quite quickly, no. Why? She tilted her head and asked, a little hurt. Because whether in the Yu family or outside, she was liked by many people. Did Ayin not like her? Ayin's voice sounded very muffled and very low. Miss can't be Ayin's younger sister, and Ayin won't treat Miss as a younger sister. Yunyin was very sad and raised her hand to beat his back. At that time, she thought that Ayin simply didn't like her and was only being nice to her because it was his duty. No matter how much she beat him, Ayin wouldn't put her down. She got angry and said, Ayin, I don't want you anymore. Anyway, other young ladies like you. Go be their bodyguard. Ayin didn't say anything, but he obviously held her tightly and let her beat him and throw a tantrum on his back without putting her down. When they returned to the car, Ayin threw her into the back seat, and she was so angry that her eyes turned red. Ayin ignored her and drove with a cold face. At that time, who would dare to treat her like that? She felt wronged and cried. But the most fundamental reason she was crying was that she felt that Ayin didn't like her, so he didn't want to be her older brother. A slight chill in the heart of her legs. Yunyin shuddered and came out of her memories. Jiang Yinyin was applying medicine to her. The ointment was first applied to his slender fingers, and then gently applied to her. Perhaps it contained mint. This time it felt even colder, and she shuddered all over very obviously. Jiang Yinyin looked up at her. She said softly, it's very cold. But after applying it, it really relieved the swelling and pain. It was very comfortable. Jiang Yinyin didn't say anything, but he always rubbed the ointment between his fingers to warm it before applying it to her. This time, Yunyin felt hot again. She bit her lip gently, turning her face to the side, deliberately not looking at this scene. However, she could not look, but the feeling was very clear. She felt that it was not the ointment that was hot, but Jiang Yinyin's fingers. She didn't know if he was doing it on purpose, but the movements he used to apply the ointment were very gentle. After applying it, his fingers would linger for a long time, gently kneading from top to bottom, over and over again. After a few strokes, Yunyin couldn't take it anymore. Is that enough? The ointment needs to be absorbed to be effective. Jiang Yinyin said this, but his slender fingers became even more rampant. Yunyin tried to retract her legs several times, but she dispelled the idea when he looked up at her. She could only endure the gentle kneading of his fingers, and gradually, she clearly felt the man's restless fingers. She shuddered suddenly, her body tightened uncontrollably. The man groaned, his voice low and husky. Do you like clamping so much? Yunyin wanted to cry, but had no tears. With a clear conscience, who could endure this kind of malicious teasing? Perhaps the medicine had been applied almost enough. Jiang Yinyin withdrew his fingers. Yunyin finally breathed a sigh of relief. Continuing would be a great torture for her. Unexpectedly, Jiang Yinyin didn't mean to get up, staring at her, his eyes gradually changing. His intentions were clear. Yunyin's scalp tingled. She was very familiar with this kind of look from the man after this morning. She was just about to grab the bathrobe and get up when Jiang Yinyin grabbed her, and the bathrobe fell to the floor. Jiang Yinyin's breaking of his word really surprised Yunyin, and she resisted firmly. Don't you have a social engagement tonight? How could her strength compare to Jiang Yinyin's? His large hand clamped down on her wrists and pinned them behind her back, effectively restraining her. Jiang Yinyin pinned her to the sofa, and the space originally meant for changing clothes was now convenient for the man's illicit intentions. Who told you I have a social engagement tonight? He chuckled, tearing off the last piece of clothing covering her body and tossing it at the foot of the sofa. In the confined space of the sofa, it was even harder for Yunyin to break free. She panicked, realizing that Jiang Yinyin hadn't actually said he had a social engagement that night since she woke up. You just said you'd have old Lu take me home. Yunyin turned her face away, enduring the man's kisses on her neck. His breath became increasingly hot, her breathing became rapid, and her heart felt like it was about to leap out of her chest. Without even trying to struggle, she could clearly feel the awakening of the man's desire. The massive form frightened her. Jiang Yinyin buried his face in the side of her face, gently nibbling at her delicate skin, quickly adding blossoming red marks. He loved hearing her restrained but involuntary gasps, as if forcing the proud her to lower her head and let him play and tease, destroying her innocence, ravaging her to the core, making her gasp and tremble only for him. Having old Lu take you home was so you could rest well tonight, he murmured in a low, husky voice. But you also said you weren't in that much pain, and the ointment might or might not be needed. So, I figured we shouldn't waste such a beautiful moment. Yin heard the sound of him unbuckling his belt. Her scalp tingled, and she wanted to cry but couldn't. She had really dug her own grave, never expecting Jiang Yin to be waiting for her with that sentence. Young Master Yin. She decided to play the victim. She turned her face, and her whole body relaxed slightly. This relaxation made her feel the intensity of the man's desire even more. She gasped slightly, her tone soft. Just let me rest for one day, okay? I'm really tired. Tired? Jiang Yin raised his head from her chest, his dark brows tinged with playfulness. I'm the one doing all the work. How could you be tired? Yin lowered her eyes, her heart pounding fiercely. Jiang Yin's breath pressed down, with a deliberate air. It's young Master Yin. Yin bit and released her lips, her voice barely a whisper. It's just that you're too big, I can't take it. Jiang Yin stared at her face, which was visibly redder after she said that, all the way to the corners of her eyes, making her even more alluring. Her lips were small and moist, bitten white just now, but quickly regaining their redness as her teeth released them, like red plums on jade, dazzlingly making people's hearts burn. The darkness in the man's eyes deepened, and his voice was low and rough, like gravel scraping across each other. I wish you would cry and scream and curse, instead of being so gentle and yielding. Yin's eyes flickered, not understanding his meaning. Jiang Yin lowered his face, his voice fierce. Yin, don't tempt men like that. You're the one who suffers. Cries and curses, he only thought of conquering, but her pitiful appearance added to his wickedness, making him want to bully her to death. This emotion erupted like a volcano, completely consuming his reason. Yin almost choked as the man thrust into her, her fingers digging tightly into his solid arms. But his muscles were hard and firm, completely different from a woman's softness. It felt like she was pinching steel. She could only grab his back, scratching down lines. But Jiang Yin didn't seem to have enough, and after several strong movements, he seemed determined to draw out her charm. He began to entice her, dangling her, and when he saw her becoming unbearable, he dragged her into the abyss. How could Yin be treated like this? After a few times, it was like being poisoned, and she was uncontrollably entangled with him. Knowing it was an abyss, she still couldn't resist the temptation of the datura flower blooming at the bottom of the cliff, stepping into it, her body constantly falling. But the man's large hand was strong and powerful, catching her, but leaving her unable to go up or down. She felt so uncomfortable, she almost cried. Until the man felt pity and gave her what she wanted, Yin felt like she suddenly rose into the clouds, her body as if thrown high, and for a moment her brain was blank. Yin was like a fish, wishing her whole body was soaked, only having the strength to breathe. The man held her tightly, feeling her trembling and tightness. He turned her face and ran his long fingers through her wet hair, his hot lips entangling with hers. And after a long time, he praised in a low voice, a born enchantress. Yin was dazed, and after the deadly passion subsided, she felt annoyed and hated her own compliance. But the man on top of her was not finished. This was just the beginning for him. The phone rang at this moment. Yin felt that her whole body was overdrawn, so she couldn't react for a moment when she heard the ringtone, feeling it was familiar. When she realized it was her phone, she hurriedly reached for it. The name on the screen splashed over her like a bucket of cold water, instantly waking her up. It was Yuan Zhou. Jiang Yin leaned over and grabbed her wrist, smiling but not smiling. You still have the strength to answer the phone? It's Zhou. If I don't answer the phone, he'll worry and keep calling. Yin was uneasy. She had originally planned to go back, but didn't want anything to happen. Jiang Yin chuckled. Are you sure you want to answer it? Yin felt that his eyes were malicious, but the phone kept ringing and not answering was not an option. She nodded slightly, her tone pleading, Young Master Yin, can you not make a sound? Jiang Yin frowned slightly, but said nothing. Yin was relieved when she saw that he didn't stop her. The phone was connected, and the next moment Zhuanzhou's anxious voice came over. You're not home? Where did you go? Yin's head was in a whirl. He was already at her door. Without thinking, she said to Yuanzhou, I got a call from Xiao Min. She has something she wants me to help with. I'll stay at her place tonight. Sister Min? What's wrong with her? Yuanzhou asked. Yin was just about to answer when she felt the man behind her starting to act up, his large hand covering her, slowly wandering, his hot fingers exuding intense desire. She shuddered, grabbing Jiang Yin's wrist with one hand and shaking her head at him, pleadingly. Jiang Yin didn't break free, letting her control him. But he didn't plan to stop either, his large body pressed against her back, kissing her from behind, deliberately torturing and teasing her. Yin trembled all over, nervous, scared, but unable to break free. Yin, the phone called her. She didn't know when Yu Wanzhou started calling her name instead of sister, and she would always scold him for being disrespectful, but he would laugh and apologize but never change, even brazenly saying once, "You're only a year older than me, and your mind isn't as mature as mine. Why should I call you sister? Even if I'm an idiot, you still have to call me sister. It has nothing to do with whether I'm mature or not, and besides, how am I immature?" No matter how hard she argued, she couldn't get Yu Wanzhou to compromise. Now, he was calling her name, and this Yunyin made her even more uneasy. Moreover, the shame and annoyance grew stronger. The signal was bad just now. Yunyin suppressed the complex emotions in her heart, while trying to avoid Jiang Yinyin's touch as much as possible. "It's nothing important. It's Xiao Min's private matter. It's not appropriate to tell you." Yu Wanzhou oed, sounding a little disappointed. "Or what time will you finish, and I'll pick you up?" "No, no need." Yunyin almost screamed because the man behind her was about to make a move. The man's lips pressed against the other side of her ear, nibbling on her small earlobe and whispering, "If you don't hang up, I can't guarantee he won't hear anything." Yunyin was anxious. She knew that Jiang Yinyin didn't have much patience, and if he really went wild, Yu Wanzhou would definitely notice. But Yu Wanzhou didn't mean to hang up, insisting on waiting for her to come back. The man behind her pressed down impolitely, and the strength of his nibbling also increased, with the intention of continuing. Yunyin's heart was in her throat, and she said to Yu Wanzhou, "Xiao Min has helped us a lot. I can't not help her if she has something, but it's really not suitable for you to get involved. Go back first, be good." The last word almost came out as a scream, because Jiang Yinyin was pinching her waist, slowly squeezing in. Yunyin's scalp tingled. This speed was not because Jiang Yinyin was taking care of Yu Wanzhou, but deliberately torturing her. After several times of passion, he knew very well that she couldn't stand this the most. Yunyin's legs began to tremble. The man behind her chuckled softly. Scared, she quickly said, "Xiao Min's calling, I'll talk to you later." Hanging up the phone, Yunyin's greatest grievances also surged up, her eyes red and moist. She pleaded softly, "I still have to call Xiao Min and tell her." This was a request that Yunyin made with a stiff upper lip. Based on her understanding of Yu Wanzhou, he would definitely call Xiao Min. Whether it was because he suspected something or out of concern for Xiao Min, he would do it. She was afraid of being exposed. Although Xiao Min was very clever, she couldn't stand up to Yu Wanzhou not being so easy to fool. After making this request, Yunyin had already mentally prepared herself for Jiang Yinyin's rage. Maybe he would even lose interest. That would be the best. Unexpectedly, Jiang Yinyin was not angry, and his tone was even very gentle. "Okay, call her." Yunyin was stunned. Jiang Yinyin's attitude surprised her. "What? Don't want to call her? Then let's continue." Jiang Yinyin put his arm around her waist. "I'm calling. I'm going to call," Yunyin quickly said. Jiang Yinyin pursed his lips slightly, the corners of his mouth raised, meaning permission. Yunyin quickly dialed Xiao Min's number. But the moment the phone was connected, she was lifted up by Jiang Yinyin and pushed her onto the back of the sofa, with her back to him. Right after, he came inside her. Yunyin gasped. For her, even if it was already continuing, each of his aggressions was torture. On the other end of the phone, Yunyin bit her lip hard to keep from crying out, and a layer of sweat had already broken out on her forehead. When she spoke again, her voice was broken. "I told Ajo that you have something. I'm staying at your place tonight. You don't let it slip. Xiao Min should still be at the office." The surroundings weren't quiet. She hummed in agreement, then asked her, "Why aren't you staying at home?" Yunyin didn't know what to say. But Xiao Min oed again. "Okay, I understand." Yunyin was grateful, but bit her lip hard to dare not make a sound, because the man behind her was clearly unwilling to hold back anymore. He began to conquer territory. A maliciousness rose again. He stretched out his arm, and his slender fingers pried open her lips, seemingly dissatisfied with her restraint. "Then I'll hang up." The moment Yunyin hung up, Jiang Yinyin completely pressed down. Yunyin couldn't help but scream, and tears streamed from the corners of her eyes. From the moment Yunyin left the club, Zhang Xianwen felt that misfortune had arrived. The next day, as soon as the stock market opened, one of Zhang's family's industrial stocks was hit hard. Zhang Xianwen was responsible, and his phone was almost blown up by professional managers in just 2 hours, causing him to roar at the other party. "Whoever the hell did this, you find him for me." The other party was very open, without any pretense, and the manager informed him that was Zhang's family's frontman, directly connected to the young master. Understood, Jiang Yinyin. Zhang Xianwen was furious, and looking at the time made him even more angry. That little slut Yunyin was taken away by Jiang Yinyin. It was so late, even an idiot would know where Jiang Yinyin could take her. Really kind enough to send his nephew's wife home? Bullshit. He probably already put a green hat on his nephew's head. Zhang Xianwen was furious, Jiang Yinyan was probably still in bed having his fun at this time, but he had cost him tens of millions. By the evening, Zhang Xuanwen's phone finally quieted down. A buddy who was with him at the club last night called him, cursing, "I haven't even played with his woman yet. The guy surnamed Jiang is too ruthless." After asking, he learned that a brand he had just negotiated with had gone back on their agreement and partnered with his competitor instead. It wasn't just him. After making a round of calls, he learned that none of the circle of people who were in the club last night were spared, either losing money or losing connections. Zhang Xianwen was initially furious, but after learning this, he suppressed his anger, just like the person on the phone. Jiang Yinyan's methods were effective, silently giving everyone a small warning. Stay away from that Yunyan in the future. That friend conceded. But isn't she Jiang Ziwei's betrothed? Could she really be having an affair with Jiang Yinyan? Also, did you ever touch that woman? Touch. Zhang Xianwen felt that his friend was right. It was better to stay away. But as soon as the call ended, he caught sight of a familiar figure, and a few ideas popped up in his mind. Being cheated out of money made him feel unbalanced, and he had to find someone to disgust him. Jiang Ziwei was eating with a few seniors and got up to go to the bathroom. When he came out and was washing his hands, someone appeared beside him. Jiang Ziwei looked in a mirror and sneered without saying hello. Compared to Jiang Yinyan, Zhang Xianwen had more dealings with Jiang Ziwei, but it was also true that they didn't get along. After the Yu and Jiang families arranged the engagement, Jiang Ziwei knew that Zhang Xianwen had designs on Yinyan and had warned him more than once. Those old guys are not ordinary old guys. They are elders who have always had a close relationship with the Jiang family. It's hard to say how wealthy they are, but they wield considerable power and are considered important connections of the Jiang family's eldest son, Jiang Zei's father. Today, Jiang Yintai's intention is very clear in letting Jiang Zei take the lead. He wants to transfer his connections, to have the elders in the circle approve of the Jiang family's eldest grandson. Therefore, Jiang Zei cannot afford to make any mistakes today. Although Jiang Zei is unreliable when it comes to relationships with women, he won't be confused when it involves family interests and major issues. He doesn't want to pay attention to Zhang Xianwen because Jiang Zei knows exactly what Zhang Xianwen is thinking. It's nothing more than still harboring ulterior motives towards Yunyan and trying to sow discord. Seeing that he's about to leave, Zhang Xianwen blocks Jiang Zei's path. You could say that even people in the capital circle can't escape the fate of being compared to others until they die. Standing next to Jiang Zei, Zhang Xuanwen's lower quality is immediately apparent. It's not that Zhang Xianwen looks particularly sleazy. Compared to ordinary people, he actually looks quite energetic. If you look closely, he has quite a strong masculine air between his eyebrows, but he has been spoiled by his family and developed into a playboy, so he always exudes an improper aura. Jiang Zei is different. Firstly, he inherited the Jiang family's lineage of producing handsome men for generations, and secondly, he has had strict upbringing since childhood. No matter what his virtue is behind the scenes, he is bound to be full of manners in front of others. In addition, the Jiang family has always had northern genes, so he has an absolute height advantage, coupled with a strong physique, smooth muscles, and a straight spine. He's a perfect clothes rack, no matter what he wears. So Zhang Xianwen is at a disadvantage standing face to face with Jiang Zei. Or you could say that unless someone has extremely good physical attributes, most people are at a disadvantage standing next to someone from the Jiang family. You think I'm framing you, right? Zhang Xianwen narrows his eyes slightly, sizing up Jiang Zei. We have no grudges. Do you think I need to frame you? I know those old guys are important to you tonight. Jiang Zei puts his hands in his pockets and smiles faintly. No grudges? How dare you say that? Zhang Xianwen, when you put Yuan Zhou in there, weren't you making an enemy of the Jiang family? Zhang Xianwen give a fake smile. I have some personal grudges with that kid Yuan Zhou, so I admit that I took advantage of the Yu family's troubles to retaliate. I just didn't want that kid to have it easy. But I didn't expect you Jiang family to be so loyal and still recognize the Yu family's daughter. But I have a question that I really can't figure out and want to ask young Master Jiang. It's obvious he has nothing good to say. Jiang Zei is already annoyed with him. Although his status means he can't openly offend the Zhang family, it doesn't mean he'll bow his head to Zhang Xianwen. He snorts coldly. There are a lot of things you can't figure out. I'm not a teacher. That's not my job. Hey. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Won't you let me finish? Zhang Xianwen finally has this opportunity. How could he let it go? I'm just curious how you and your uncle's relationship can be so good. Our circle is very corrupt. For the sake of power, even fathers and sons can turn against each other. Zhang Xianwen is very proactive. Jiang Zei ignores him and goes straight to the corridor. Zhang Xianwen follows him, insisting on pouring out his words. He sensitively notices Jiang Zei's footsteps falter slightly, thinking that there's hope. As long as he's not completely impervious to reason, anyone who hears these words will be affected. He continues, not many people in the circle would dare to offend me and try to bail out someone I put in. Your uncle dares to do that. For you, he really doesn't care about offending people. And last night, Zhang Xianwen pauses deliberately, leaving a cliffhanger. However, Jiang Ze doesn't take the bait at all. His expression is calm and his tone is light. If it wasn't for my uncle stepping in, would young Master Zhang have let it go so easily? In young Master Zhang's eyes, my importance is not as great as my uncle's. So my uncle has to stand up for me and offend people. His reply is airtight, not at all as angry as Zhang Xianwen expected. Zhang Xuanwen's plan was thorough. He could retaliate against Yuan Zhou and force Yunyan to bow her head to him. Even if Yuan Zhou was released safely, Yunyan would have already been with him, Zhang Xianwen, which would be a more fatal blow to Yuan Zhou. He couldn't wait to see Yuan Zhou's breakdown and madness. As a result, Jiang Yinyan suddenly intervened. Jiang Ze's cold words interrupt that last night perfectly, and it's unclear if Jiang Ze did it on purpose or didn't hear the rest of Zhang Xuanwen's sentence. But Zhang Xianwen is thick-skinned. It doesn't matter if the sentence was interrupted. He continues. Yes, your uncle offended me for a woman. Oh no, for you, making it known to everyone in the circle. I don't want to make things difficult for our two families and make it hard to get along in the future. So I sincerely asked for peace and invited your uncle to Hongyu Clubhouse last night. I didn't expect your uncle to see Yunyan also at the clubhouse and immediately turn against us and take your future wife away in the middle of the night. Jiang Ze chuckles. I've known Yin Yin for so many years, and I never knew she liked to go to places like that. The implication is that there must be something suspicious about her being there. Zhang Xianwen tuts and shakes his head. It's hard to know a person's heart just by looking at their face. Everyone in the circle knows about the Yu family's current situation. Yunyan wants to help the Yu family recover and wants to cultivate relationships for Yuan Zhou. So wouldn't she have to go to places like that? I only found out when I got to the clubhouse. He sighs, pretending to be helpless. Although Yunyan has lost her status as a wealthy heiress, her soft body can still captivate men. You've heard of it, right? There are many people in the circle who have tasted her and are obsessed with her and can't forget her. Your uncle is a physically normal man, right? It's normal for him to be blinded for a while. Jiang Ze grabs his collar with considerable force and presses Zhang Xianwen directly against the wall. Seeing that he finally has some emotion, Zhang Xianwen is very happy. He doesn't care what he's being insulted for, nor does he care what will happen if outsiders see it. He, Zhang Xianwen, is a famous playboy, and he doesn't care even if the outside world and the media see this scene. On the contrary, the young master of the Jiang family is different. He's been plagued by scandals recently, and it will be interesting if there are more revelations. Don't be angry. I'm a straightforward person. I say whatever comes to mind. Your uncle isn't that much older than you. He's at the most attractive age for a man. He also stepped forward to help Yunyan, so any woman would have ideas about your uncle, right? Jiang Ze, it's not that I didn't warn you. You can go to Yunyan's house now. Maybe she's not even home. She's just with your uncle. Yunyan is with me. Jiang Ze interrupts him coldly. Zhang Xianwen is stunned for a long time. With you? Why don't I believe that? She's my fiancée. If my uncle didn't send someone to send her to me, would he send her to you? Jiang Ze frowns and shouts coldly. Zhang Xianwen narrows his eyes and sizes him up. His collar is being held so tightly by Jiang Ze that his neck is red. Zhang Xianwen, don't think I don't know what you're plotting in your heart. Yunyan will never be with you, so give up on that idea, Jiang Ze says in a cold voice. After speaking, he loosens his grip. Zhang Xianwen is freed. Seeing Jiang Ze leave without looking back, he shouts angrily behind him. Who knows, those two might have already put a green hat on you. Can Yunyan marry you? She's been eyeing your uncle for a long time. My relationship with Yunyan is none of your business, so I won't bother young Master Zhang. Jiang Ze says lightly, without even turning his head, completely ignoring him in a way that is not very harmful but extremely insulting. Zhang Xianwen can't follow anymore. Jiang Ze has already entered the private room. Moreover, he said everything he needs to say. This guy is actually impervious to reason. Zhang Xianwen is confused and his eyebrows are furrowed. Wait, how come every time he encounters someone from the Jiang family, his plans fall apart? He sent Yunyan back to Jiang Ze, and he sent someone, Lao Lu. He was with Jiang Yinyan last night. He was willing to give that beautiful woman to someone else? Zhang Xianwen doesn't believe it. Last night, Jiang Yinyan was acting like she's my woman. It's not that he's overthinking it. That's what everyone at the scene last night thought. It was too obvious. Or rather, Jiang Yinyan didn't seem to want to hide it at all. Zhang Xianwen grits his teeth. What are these two from the Jiang family up to? What? Are uncle and nephew sharing a woman? Playing it quite openly. Yunyan doesn't know when she fell asleep. She only remembers that Jiang Yinyan forced her to stay, and the repeated huge pleasures devoured her. Compared to before, Jiang Yinyan tonight is more like a wolf that has been hungry for too long devouring her greedily. Each time lasts longer than before, tormenting her to beg for mercy. But the more she begs for mercy, the more excited he becomes, scooping up her soft, boneless body and changing positions to continue his torment. She is thrown high into the clouds again, gasping and falling, thinking she will be crushed to pieces, but he holds her in his arms. The room is filled with the strong scent of male hormones and female fragrance. Every time she tenses to the extreme, Jiang Yinyan's hot breath will caress her ear, filled with uncontrollable lust. Little Yaojin, do you want to bite me to death? Yinyan is vaguely aware that she hears the doorbell. She was half asleep and half awake at the time and thought she was dreaming. The doorbell also went into her dream. She dreamed that the sun was very charming that day, and her socialite sister came to her house for Yan's sake. The socialite sister said, "There isn't a man I can't handle." She leaned on the window and looked at the garden. A yin happened to be passing by the garden, and the socialite's sister pretended not to be standing firmly and fell into a Yan's arms. The man next to her seemed to have gotten up. Yin felt as if her whole body was trapped in cotton. She was slightly conscious, but she just couldn't open her eyes. She was too tired. From the first time she had a relationship with Jiang Yinyan until now, she felt it was a miracle that she was still alive. She hummed softly. After a while, she felt as if her lips were being kissed and then gently held and teased. The lips and teeth had the familiar scent of a man. She subconsciously resisted. Don't. The doorbell rang nonstop. The man released her and probably went to open the door. In a daze, she heard a faint sound. The bedroom door wasn't closed, so the doorbell and the impolite, "Where's Yunyan?" both poured into Yunyan's ears. The next second, Yunyan was fully awake, abruptly sitting up. The soreness all over her body and the bloating in her abdomen made her gasp softly. The hotel room wasn't small, and it was a suite. Yunyan could only faintly hear the sounds, and her heart skipped a beat when she listened carefully. Did that sound like Jiang Zhe's voice? Yunyan glanced out the window. The sky was still in a state of transition, neither bright nor dark, probably just before dawn. Her heart pounded, and her scalp prickled. Jiang Zhe was drunk, his eyes glazed over. The Hill Hotel, where Jiang Yinyan was located, had once been controlled by foreign capital. Later, the Jiang family invested in it, and in the past 2 years, the hotel's major shares had also been leaning towards the Jiang family. After that, Jiang Yinyan secretly took control of the entire hotel. To put it bluntly, the Hill Hotel and the surrounding commercial supermarkets and large buildings were all acquired by Jiang Yinyan. So Jiang Zhe knew that he kept a suite in this hotel year-round, but this was the first time he had taken the initiative to come to the door. When Jiang Yinyan opened the door, Jiang Zhe leaned drunkenly against the doorframe, but he wasn't so drunk that he was talking nonsense. At least he didn't see stars, so he could see the situation clearly. Jiang Yinyan was wearing a bathrobe, probably because he just wanted to check the situation when the doorbell rang. So he grabbed a bathrobe. The belt around his waist was loosely tied, revealing a large expanse of his chest. There were obvious scratches on his firm muscles, especially near his neck, where there seemed to be bite marks. Most of them were hidden in the bathrobe. The situation was obvious. A bellyful of fire rushed up Jiang Zhe's throat, and he asked him directly, "Where's Yunyan?" After asking, he tried to rush in, but Jiang Yinyan stopped him. "What are you doing, drunk fool?" Jiang Yinyan asked, displeased, his thick eyebrows furrowed. Jiang Zhe put one hand on the doorframe, his eyes bloodshot, not sure if it was because of the alcohol. He asked, "Is Yunyan here with you?" Jiang Yinyan replied evasively, "You'd better sober up before you talk to me." He was about to close the door after speaking. Jiang Zhe was usually afraid of him, but with a little alcohol fueling him, he was much more brazen. He stubbornly refused to move, slurring his words. "If you don't let me in, I'll just stay here, right here." Jiang Yinyan stared at him expressionlessly for a long time, then turned around and went back into the house. Seeing this, Jiang Zhe followed closely behind, closing the door behind him. Adjacent to the living room was a small reception area. The reception area was separated from the living area by a door. From Jiang Yinyan's side, he could see the situation in the living area. He hadn't closed the bedroom door when he left the bedroom, but now the door was tightly closed. Yinyan had closed it. He chuckled softly. He had woken her up. After entering the house, Jiang Zhe went straight to the living area. Jiang Yinyan didn't stop him, but sat leisurely on the sofa in the living area. Yunyan's heart was in her throat in the bedroom. She sat on the bed, her whole body tense. No matter how good the soundproofing was, it couldn't withstand the loud noises Jiang Zhe was making after getting drunk. Yunyan heard him break into the hotel room, heard his staggering footsteps, getting closer and closer to the bedroom door. Yunyan's scalp was tingling, and her heart was so nervous that it was about to jump out of her throat. She wanted to hide, but there was nowhere to hide in the bedroom. If she didn't hide, even though she had clearly told Jiang Zhe that she wanted to break off the engagement, Even though she knew that it was none of Jiang Ze's business who she was with in the future, the current situation was very embarrassing. Moreover, the other party was Jiang Yinyan. She didn't care who she had a scandal with, but not with Jiang Yinyan. Even if the engagement was broken off, her relationship with Jiang Yinyan couldn't be publicized. So Yinyan didn't know what Jiang Yinyan was up to. Was he just letting Jiang Ze open the door and come in? Hearing the doorknob jiggle, Yinyan's breathing suddenly became rapid. Immediately afterward, the bedroom door was pushed open a little, and a light from outside squeezed through the crack. Yinyan only felt a buzzing in her head, and the blood in her body suddenly flowed backward. Although the bedroom wasn't small, as long as Jiang Ze broke in and looked in the direction of the bed, he would see her. She gritted her teeth, and her hands unconsciously clenched in the thin blanket, just waiting for the moment when she would face Jiang Ze. She had already foreseen a storm. The thoughts in her mind were like 1,000 troops and horses. What was Jiang Yinyan thinking by not stopping him from coming in? Probably didn't care. In his eyes, she was very cheap. A woman who sold her body to achieve her goals wasn't worth cherishing. So he didn't care if Jiang Ze found out. Once Jiang Ze found out, he would just put all the blame on her. Accusing her of seduction wouldn't be out of the question. All the thoughts collided in an instant, and then she quickly prepared herself mentally, staring at the crack in the door, just waiting for the moment when Jiang Ze pushed it open and everything collapsed. In a daze, she seemed to hear Jiang Yinyan's voice, deep and authoritative. "My bedroom where I sleep. Are you sure you want to see it?" The action of pushing the door stopped. Yinyan also held her breath, her entire body stiff. She was frozen, staring at the direction of the door in the darkness. The person standing outside the bedroom was frozen, and Yinyan in the bedroom was also frozen. She could hear her own heartbeat, thumping so hard that her eardrums ached. The crack of light was blocked by a slender figure. As long as this door was pushed open, all the dirt and shame would come to the surface. Jiang Ze stood at the bedroom door. The door had been pushed open a little by him, and an ambiguous scent squeezed out through the crack. He didn't consider himself a saint and had enjoyed himself with women many times, so he was very familiar with this scent. He was sure there was a woman in the bedroom because of the obvious feminine fragrance, intertwined with traces of hormones, indicating a wild battle. Jiang Ze wasn't really drunk, and Zhang Xuanwen's words had sunk in his ears and pierced his heart. He knew about the Red Glamour Club and the people who frequented it. He had also been to that club, which was basically a place for pleasure. He understood Yunyan. Given her personality, even if she asked for help, she wouldn't go to that kind of place. And Jiang Yinyan, even if invited, wouldn't easily go to that place, especially since it was Zhang Xianwen. Jiang Yinyan dared to directly interfere with Yu Zhuanchu's affairs. Did he still care about mending fences with Zhang Xianwen? If he went, it was most likely because of Yunyan. How could Jiang Ze not be suspicious? Ever since he learned that his uncle had intervened in Yu Zhuanchu's affairs without his consent, he had a vague feeling. And the woman in his uncle's car that day, how could she just happen to appear in Xiaomin's neighborhood? And when they were at the Jiang family, Jiang Ze had also caught the subtle feeling between the two of them. But he couldn't make a fuss because the other party was Jiang Yinyan, because he was now trying to seize power in the Jiang family. Even his father had warned him not to easily offend his uncle. He had grown up outside and only returned to the Jiang family as an adult. He had no feelings for the Jiang family, and he wouldn't have any feelings of uncle and nephew for you. But Zhang Xuanwen's words were like legs, constantly burrowing into his heart. He believed that Jiang Yinyan had taken Yu Nian away last night, and he also believed that Jiang Yinyan hadn't sent her home. They were in passionate love, even indulging in sensual pleasures. Or perhaps Jiang Yinyan had tasted the forbidden fruit long ago on that long mountain road. That woman who originally belonged to him, wantonly enjoying herself in Jiang Yinyan's arms. The more Jiang Ze thought about it, the more he hated it, and he drank one cup after another. Those elders were all drunk, slurring their words to Jiang Yintai, saying, "Your son is a chip off the old block." Only Jiang Ze knew that he could only act recklessly under the influence of alcohol. Only then could he confirm his suspicions. But he never expected Jiang Yinyan to say such a thing, sitting leisurely on the sofa behind him, as if Jiang Yinyan had seen through that he was faking drunkenness from the beginning. Jiang Ze had a strong feeling that Yinyan was on the bed in the room, and the fragrance leaking from the crack in the door was very similar to the scent on her body. A feeling of resentment surged into his heart. He gritted his teeth fiercely. That bitch, she could sleep with other men, but not with him. He clenched the doorknob so hard that his fingers hurt, wishing he could immediately push the door open, drag the woman out, and ask her why. But Jiang Ze slowly released his grip and ultimately failed to push the door open. He forcibly restrained his emotions, and when he turned around again, he had a drunken look on his face, staggering as he sat down on the sofa. "Uncle, don't blame me, I'm just anxious." What's wrong? Jiang Yin poured him a glass of water and pushed it towards him on the coffee table. Jiang Zhe raised his hand and rubbed his temples, picked up the glass, and drank it in one gulp. I can't find Yin. She won't answer my phone, and she insists on breaking off the engagement. He pretended to be pitiful, drooping his head. Uncle, I don't want to break off the engagement. I want to marry Yin. Jiang Yin leaned back on the sofa, his face calm. So you came to me? Uncle, don't misunderstand. Isn't this just a desperate measure? I was just thinking that you helped her. She must appreciate you, and you might know where she is, Jiang Zhe said vaguely. Jiang Yin smiled. He got up and walked to the bedroom door. Jiang Zhe took the opportunity to turn his head and stare at his back, watching him reach out and grasp the doorknob. His heart skipped a beat. Unexpectedly, he just closed the bedroom door. Jiang Zhe narrowed his eyes slightly, but when Jiang Yin turned around, Jiang Zhe returned to normal. Yin collapsed on the bed in the bedroom. Her heart had finally settled. She lay there, staring at her arms. She could feel her cold limbs slowly regaining blood flow. She clenched her fingers, her fingertips were cold. After a long while, Yin tiptoed out of bed, supported herself against the wall, and walked to the bedroom door, thinking that she could hear if Jiang Zhe intended to leave. Unexpectedly, once the door was closed, she couldn't hear the conversation outside unless there was a lot of noise. The soundproofing was good enough. In a reception room, Jiang Yin picked up the cigarette case from the coffee table, took out a cigarette, and gestured to Jiang Zhe. Have one. Sober up. Jiang Zhe decided to play dead to the end, took the cigarette, deliberately glanced back, and then asked, Uncle, you're... Jiang Yin held the cigarette in his mouth, lit himself, and threw the lighter to Jiang Zhe. He exhaled a puff of smoke and said faintly, Can't stand the smell of smoke. Jiang Zhe was slightly stunned before he realized that he was talking about the one inside the bedroom. His heart started to pound. Could not be Yin? He had never seen Yin unable to stand the smell of smoke. But if it wasn't Yin inside, then who could it be? Jiang Yin had never had any women around him. And just from that one sentence, it could be seen that Jiang Yin cared about the one inside quite a bit. This was rather strange. Uncle, the one inside. Jiang Zhe lit a cigarette and asked with a drunken smile, Who is it? Jiang Yin held the cigarette, looking at him with a faint smile through the bluish-white smoke. You've met her. Jiang Zhe's heart skipped a beat. He heard Jiang Yin slowly add, in the car last time. Jiang Zhe hated it in his heart, but he couldn't be sure for a while. But he still smiled and said, Uncle, saying that is the same as not saying anything. I didn't see clearly in the car last time. She's shy, doesn't like seeing people. There's nothing I can do. Jiang Yin took a puff of smoke, tapping the ash with his slender fingers. Jiang Zhe secretly clenched his hands, took a deep puff of smoke, and smiled, exhaling smoke. Is it your future aunt? Grandma would be overjoyed if she knew about this. There was a hint of probing in his words. Of course, Jiang Zhe's bringing up Grandma Jiang was also intended as a warning. The corners of Jiang Yin's mouth turned up slightly. How could he not see through his intentions? He crossed his long legs, resting his hand with the cigarette on the armrest of the sofa. He smiled and said, Your abilities have grown quite a bit recently, but you want to trick me? Your skills aren't good enough yet. If it weren't for hiding behind the pretense of drunkenness, Jiang Zhe would definitely have exposed himself completely, but fortunately, he could also pretend. He chuckled and said, Isn't this me asking on behalf of Grandma? If you have a girl you like, you should bring her home as soon as possible. Grandma is looking forward to it every day. Jiang Yin exhaled a puff of smoke. You still think it's like before? If Yin doesn't want to marry, it's useless no matter how much you want to marry her. The Jiang family can't do anything like forced marriage to damage their reputation. He didn't take the bait, shifting the conflict back to Jiang Zhe. Jiang Zhe bit the cigarette holder hard, then released it, his tone lazy again. If I, Jiang Zhe, can't marry her, then no one else can think about it. Jiang Yin raised an eyebrow. Oh, unless she doesn't marry someone in our circle. But in this circle, Uncle, do not believe me, no one dares to marry Yin, Jiang Zhe sneered. But does Yin dare to marry an ordinary person? I can destroy him, so she can only marry me. Jiang Yin tapped the ash lightly. You're using your power to fight for a woman? You're not like your father in this. Jiang Zhe said, My parents' marriage was also a business marriage. So, is there anything wrong with me wanting to have a business marriage with Yin? Uncle, you shouldn't have interfered with Yu Zhuanchu's affairs. Yu Wanshou is her weakness, and she can do anything for this younger brother. Saying this, he looked at Jiang Yin and smiled. You don't know yet, do you? Know what? Jiang Zhe moved closer to him and sat down. Jiang Yin frowned slightly when the smell of alcohol wafted over. Jiang Zhe knew that Jiang Yin hated drunk people getting close. He was the same in the business world. He never talked about business at the dinner table, which was very different from the conventions of this circle. Yin lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep anymore, thinking that Jiang Zhe must have suspected something to come looking for her here. In fact, she had seen through Jiang Zhe's suspicions long ago, but she didn't expect him to be so impulsive tonight. As for what Jiang Yin and he said outside, she had no idea. It was a good tradition of the Jiang family that even a scoundrel like Jiang Zhe could control his tone of voice very well, unlike Zhang Xianwen, who was always loud and boisterous. She felt a little uneasy. She couldn't say why. Was she afraid that Jiang Zhe and Jiang Yin would turn against each other? Yin thought she was overthinking it, and didn't think she held such an important position in the hearts of those two men. Just as she was thinking, the bedroom door opened. Yin sat up with a start, abruptly turning her head to stare at the bedroom door. The lights in the living room went out. With the faint light from outside the window, she could see the figure of a man. It was Jiang Yin. The bedroom door was wide open again, and it was very quiet outside. Yin then realized that Jiang Zhe had left. Jiang Yin had come in after taking a shower, and he smelled of fresh body wash. Yin didn't know why he had taken a shower, and she didn't ask. After he got into bed and lay down, she asked, "How did Jiang Zhe know I was here?" Jiang Yin's entire face was submerged in the shadows, and even when Yin turned to look at him, she couldn't see much of his expression, only his eyes, looking at her. He didn't answer immediately. If Yin didn't know he was looking at her, she would have thought he was asleep. After a long time, Jiang Yin finally moved. He reached out, his slender fingers covering her smooth back, gently stroking it, causing Yin to tremble slightly. She wanted to avoid him, but Jiang Yin seemed to be able to see through her thoughts, and he murmured, "Don't move." Yin didn't dare to move, sitting stiffly there with her back to him. Jiang Yin sat up slightly, leaning against the headboard, looking at her back in the dim light from the window. The darker the light, the whiter her back looked, like solidified cream and jade, her whole figure like a goddess, so pure and inviolable. She should be like snow on a mountain, a rainbow in the clouds, all the good things in the world. But Jiang Yin just wanted to get everything, to completely destroy this purity, to grasp it tightly in his hands, to trample it under his feet.